Okay, so today I want to talk about wrist and forearm mobility, just because I think that's one of those areas where we really don't focus a lot on. We kind of set those aside when we work on all the bigger things like our quads and our shoulders and our back, but we tend to forget kind of these smaller areas such as wrist mobility and also making sure that our forearms are also not getting tight after a while, which they can with a lot of grip stuff, holding on to bars, front squats, etc. So let's just go over a few different exercises to help get a little bit more mobility in the wrist to help kind of loosen up the forearms just a little bit. So first thing we're going to do is just simple wrist circles so you can clasp your hands, and basically you're going to take your wrist, so you can start by taking one wrist over and then just kind of rotate the other wrist on top, and then vice versa, kind of working on circles kind of in each direction. I know kind of going the other direction is a little awkward, but try to get 10 in each direction and then do that again. So 10 one way and then 10 the other way, just to kind of get the wrists nice and prepped and loosened up. So the next kind of mobility thing are a couple different chicken wing variations. So the first one is to take the tips of your fingers. You can either place them right at the bottom of your ribs or your hips, whichever works for you. This is a little bit easier, but you want to place your fingertips. Now the goal is to take the pads, these knuckles, right under your fingers and really press those down. You don't want your fingers to be curled. You want to try to get those fingers as flat as possible, right against your ribs. And then so from here, you want to try to straighten out those elbows. So you really want to work those arms straight. Obviously, you're not going to get them straight, but that's the idea that you want. So pressing those inner knuckles of your fingers against your ribs, and then trying to push those elbows and those arms straight, shrugging the shoulders up. This is a really good stretch for those forearms. Try to move those elbows upwards, straighten those arms. So this is a good one to kind of hold for about 20-30 seconds or so. And then also, instead of just working this flexion here, we also want to work the back of the wrist. So now you're going to take the back of the wrist and you're trying to get this right up into that crease of your armpit on both sides. So this is another chicken wing variation. So you're going to press the backs of your hands right against it and try to lower your elbows. This is really good for getting the backs of the wrists. If this is too hard, just obviously do it a little bit lower on the ribs. That will make it a little bit easier. But if you can get them right into the creases of your armpits, that's really good. So again, this is really good for the backs of the hands. Now another thing that you can also do as well, so for a little bit more of stretching out the forearms and the wrists. So now you're going to take, we'll start with the left arm. So you're going to take this arm and you're going to place it straight out in front of you. Kind of keep your shoulders nice and soft, kind of melt your shoulder blades back. And you want to try to get your hand to 90 degrees or kind of facing directly away from you. Now what you're going to do is, using this hand and using this thumb here, you're going to take each finger and you're going to press this thumb right against the back of the knuckle and try to straighten it out, kind of pull that finger back, and you want to keep these other fingers from curling. You want to keep those as straight as possible. Keep that arm straight at 90 degrees, keep your shoulders nice and soft, and you want to go through each finger. So again, using this thumb to press against that knuckle, kind of straighten that finger out. You can even do 2 fingers at a time. This will help to get a little bit more stretch right at the top of the forearm. And kind of go through each finger a few different times, holding it for about 2 to 3 seconds for each finger. And then we'll switch sides, so other hand goes straight out, pulling each finger in, again using this thumb to kind of push that knuckle away. Keep those fingers straight, try not to let them curl, really try to press them straight. Keep that arm straight out in front of you. This is again really good for the top of the forearm. So you can work each hand for about a minute, which is really good. Now we'll do a few things on the floor. So you're going to sit on your knees, and you can have your knees slightly spread out wide apart. Now you're going to take your hands, and you're going to place your heel of your hand down with your fingers facing towards you. If you can actually angle your fingers in so that the pinkies are almost touching each other, that's great. And you want your fingertips to be in line with your knees. You don't want them too far back, because what you're going to need to do then is keeping your heel of your hand against the ground, and you want to press those knuckles, the insides of the knuckles. Don't let the fingers curl. Try to press them flat. You're going to shift your weight backwards and really try to lock those arms straight. Really try to press the insides of your elbows forward that way. to help really get a lot of that stretch. And if you want to spice things up a bit, you can even do a little bit of a kind of a cat-cow here. So push the shoulder blades together, push the chest through, and then round the shoulder blades as you're doing this. Just to get a little bit of shoulder mobility is kind of nice while you're down here. Again, really a reminder to keep those knuckles pressed flat against the ground. Don't let your fingers curl up. Keep those knuckles pressed flat. Get a few cat-cows here. You can even kind of get up a little bit more. So I was sitting on my heels. If you actually get on all fours and then kind of press back a little bit more, you can get a different kind of a stretch as well. And then also we want to get the backs of the hands. So now we're going to take the backs of the hands, press them down to the ground, and then kind of just lean back. Remember, try to keep this from lifting off the ground if you can, that back of the hand there. And then if you want to get a few cat-cows, so pinch the shoulder blades together, push the chest through, and then round the shoulders, really open up that space between your back. So a little bit of shoulder mobility along with the wrist mobility. And then last thing you can also do for your forearms, so this is actually using a little bit of your knees. It does take a little bit of balance, and you do have to have a little bit of strength to hold yourself on the ground. So I'm going to take my forearm, and I'm going to just lay it on the ground, palm facing up. Now I'm going to have to make sure that I'm really grounding through this hand here, and making sure that my body is staying pretty grounded, because I'm going to take my, so this is left arm, I'm going to take my left knee, and now I'm going to place it on my forearm, and I'm going to actually use the weight of my knee to actually kind of massage and knead my forearm. And you can do kind of the bottom of your kneecap, or if you do on the bony part of your kneecap, that'll get a little bit deeper, but you really have to make sure you're grounded everywhere else, because you don't want all the weight to shift on your forearm. You want to be able to control how much weight is there. And then what you can do is, once your weight is on your forearm, you can kind of wiggle your hands, kind of wave at yourself back and forth, kind of twist your wrist to the side, shift your knee to a different position, wave back and forth, really try to get that range of motion in the forearm as best as you can. Kind of twist back and forth to the side. And you can kind of rock back and forth a little bit just to knead a lot of those tight muscles in your forearms. So again, we'll do the right side. So I'm going to place that forearm palm facing up and really make sure that I'm grounded here. Take my right knee right under the kneecap, or I can do the top of the kneecap as well. And then kind of push, using the pressure of my knee, kind of push into the tissues of my forearm. And I can use my body weight shifted around to just kind of control how much weight gets on the forearm. Kind of just going down, waving at myself, twisting back and forth, really getting those tissues nice and loosened up. And there you have it. So nice healthy grip, nice forearms, nice wrist mobility for that front rack position. Really good to do after a lot of hang cleans, pull-ups, and such.